Hi everyone, this is Cyan here. If you have never been on my channel before, welcome. I'm so happy to have you here. And today, what we're gonna talk about difficult people. Difficult people, we all in our lives have encountered at least one difficult person that we think the person is difficult, right? And today I just want to talk a little bit about it. Sometimes we just don't know how to deal with them, how to react, or anything like that. And you have that one person, one difficult person that's just has a lot of attitude and always has their way in everything, and maybe makes everybody feel bad, treats anybody anyhow. Sometimes you have it in your family, sometimes you have it at work, sometimes you have it at church, sometimes you have it uh, within your friend groups, your relationships, anywhere, basically, in a business. So one thing I've experienced, and one thing I think helps with difficult people, is being able to know their personality type. First of all, understand who they are, and have direct communication with them. First of all, do a search about the person and the type of person they are. They might be just a different type of personality than you are, and that's why the personalities are clashing or anything like that. But it could also be that the person is living something outside of your relationship that you don't know about, that makes them be the way they are. Some people are bitter. Some people went through a lot of things, and they just became very difficult. And it's just not being able to pinpoint and know what that thing is. If it's bothering you, and if you have to deal with that person for a long period, for a long time, or for something specific, if you have to work together, or do a life together, you need to know the person more. You need to actually work on that relationship and figure out how to make it work. And one thing I found is very important is, like I said, knowing the person profile. I mean, knowing the person's personality. Also, being able to communicate with them. And communication sometimes can be very tough. It can be confrontation. It could be just asking questions and understanding why the person did this or that, without necessarily being defensive or offensive. You know, and confrontation, sometimes people take it as a strong word or a bad word, but confrontation doesn't have to be bad. It just has to be simple. For example, I'll give you an example of my story, my experience, something I lived, but it was actually at work. It was at a different workplace where there was that one person that was super disrespectful with everybody, and everybody was feeling bad, was feeling that they were treated bad by that person, and nobody wanted to talk to her and tell her straight how they felt. But she was actually creating a toxic work environment, and she was making people not want to come to work, or people feel stressed just knowing that they had to work with her, deal with her, call her, or just exchange with her an email, or have a meeting with her. So just by pronouncing her name, people would just get stressed, because they know that she would come and treat people like they had no value. She would be just very disrespectful. She would be very a bossy, all kinds of things that are, that make people feel bad, and that make a workplace environment toxic. It was toxic. And they had many meetings with her. They had many encounters with her, where they addressed the situation in a type of way, but it was kind of like too diplomatic, or it wasn't straight up clear that, hey, you're doing something wrong and you should stop it. So one day I was just tired. I asked myself, what should I do? Should I just shut up and leave under this toxic situation, in this situation, for I don't know how long I'll be working with her, or should I tell her that how I'm feeling, and take myself out of the situation? I was seriously thinking about either her stopping or me quitting, because I was not, it was in a season where I was not going to have any negativity in my life. I did not want to take it. I said, you know what? I don't want to take any negativity. I want to be surrounded by positivity, by people that are positive or people that treat me well. I'm tired. I don't want to accept this anymore. So, and unfortunately, she was in that season with me, and she was being very negative and very toxic and very hard to work with. So I had to talk to her, and I had to tell her clearly how I felt. So one email was very, very, very disrespectful. It felt straight up like I don't want to say the word, but she was a Caucasian, okay, and she was treating any other race, including mine, differently, you know. So I wouldn't say that she was racist and everything, but every action pointed out to that. So I had to talk to her, and you know how it works in the workplace environment. You basically have to, you know, tell the person how you feel. You have several steps to go through if you feel like you're being disrespected, or if you feel like they're not respecting people. Your rights are not being respected, right? So I decided to talk to her, but I sent her an email, and my words were very diplomatic, very polite, but very straight and clear, and saying how I felt, why it made me feel that way, the things that she was doing that made me feel the way it made me feel, and that I wanted it to stop. So it was clear that I was very direct with whatever I was feeling. My feelings were clear. How I felt was clear based on what actions she might have been doing that made me feel that way. I was not attacking her, but I was addressing the situations and the actions and the specific events that made me feel the way I felt. And at the end of the email, I explained that I did not want to feel that way again. So I wanted whatever actions were conducive to that toxic environment should stop. Those actions to stop. And I gave a solution, and I suggested that moving forward to work well and to have a less toxic environment, this is the things that we should be doing. This is how I should be treated to feel comfortable, you know, and that didn't go well. It did not go well at all, because she was not expecting somebody to actually confront her and talk to her. She quit. That was the most unexpected reaction ever. Because I had no idea that you would just literally quit your job because somebody asked you to act proper, to act diplomatic, to respect people, and to be considerate, literally. So she has never pictured, never thought about somebody being able to talk to her and to educate her on how to treat people, basically. And so she quit. I was very sorry. It was very unfortunate. I felt so bad that she actually quit her job, because I had the courage to tell her what everybody else was afraid to tell her, basically. And I took a step back, and I actually analyzing the situation and thinking about it. She was doing that for over a year and a half with everybody, including superiors, right? So, being me and having to talk to her was something that she could not take. She couldn't take it, and so she quit. I was expecting maybe an apology. I was expecting a meeting with her so we could talk, so we could address the way I was feeling and the way the actions and the events and clarification, communication, dialogue. But it never happened because she quit. She decided to leave the whole workplace because I told her that she was making me feel uncomfortable and she was reacting some type of way that made everybody else feel uncomfortable, and that she should stop and that she should be more considerate. That's basically what the email was about. She quit. So that lesson, that actually taught me a lesson, right? It showed me how it's very important that if you're not feeling some type of way, if you trust your gut, trust your feelings, trust the way you feel. If you feel a certain type of way, there's something wrong. There's something definitely wrong that should be fixed. And yes, it has to be through confrontation. You need to address it. You need to talk to somebody. You need to find a way. The best way to protect yourself and to do it is by writing, because now everybody knows exactly what you wrote and what you told them. Because if it's verbal, there's no proof, and people can just make up a story and say that, oh, hey, yeah, she did this and she did that. But there was no way to make up a story about me because it was on paper. It was written. I literally wrote everything, and it was based on procedures, based on work ethics, based on code of conduct, and all of that. No, the labor laws, the human rights, things like that. Just make sure that you know your stuff and you actually go based on that to write something that protects you and that shows that, yes, I know the information. You're not supposed to treat me this way. So here's how you're supposed to treat me. Educate people. So, but before you are able to do that, you're supposed to be educated. So that's for the workplace part. Right. If it's the workplace, work environment, if it happened there and that you have that difficult person, talk to them, discover them first. Sometimes they just need compassion, and they just need somebody to be nice to them. But in some cases, they're doing it on purpose, and they would not stop and they would not change. This case, she quit because she didn't want to change. She didn't want to listen to what I had to say, and she just didn't want to treat me well. So she'd rather take the route of quitting than apologizing to me, basically. So then I felt bad for her that she quit, but at the same time, it changed the work environment, and it was less toxic from there on. Things changed a lot. Right. So if it's a toxic person, a very difficult person around you, the same goes. You have to communicate with them. You have to talk to them. You have to have a dialogue. And many, many, many times you will see that they're not expecting anybody to confront them. They have not ever been confronted before. And you might have been the first person to confront them and to actually give them a service, actually make them a service, help them, right? So that's all I had to say for today. I hope this helped you. Write comment below if you have anything to share, if you've been through a situation like that and it turned out well, or tell me how it went when you tried, if you tried, and how you tried, all of that stuff, so we can share the love. Thank you.